She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, her straight talk is nice. She's a pushy broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.
Welcome, Transformation Talk Radio listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Women Who Push for More. I am delighted to have a very lovely guest with me today that my team has wanted to have on for quite some time, and she has consented to this interview, so I am delighted. This is Roshini Cope, and many of you know her as Glamazini. So I have Glamazini on Women Who Push for More, and I could not be more excited. And I'm going to get right to her because there are so many things that I already know about her, but I want you to hear it straight from her mouth. So Transformation Talk Radio listeners, welcome Roshini Cope.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for having me on. This is so exciting.
I am so thrilled. I was telling you before we started that my producer, and I'm going to mention her, so she's going to go, oh my God, I'm on the air. Courtney Robinson is a very big fan of yours. So please give a shout out to Courtney for me. Would you do that?
Hi, Courtney. Hi.
Thank you so much. So now she'll stay with me for another year or two because of that. So I appreciate that a lot. So there are so many things that attracted me to you. First of all, I did have a chance to go through some of your videos and your story is amazing. But the thing that immediately attracted to me to you was you talk about a mission statement in the first sentence or two, and you say that your name is Roshini Cope and you're a light and laughter creator. You make funny and inspiring videos that tell engaging stories that garner millions of views on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, averaging viral videos, maybe 2 to 3 months, approximately 500,000 views every couple of months. That, my dear, is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's something I'm not going to say I stumbled on it, but it happened intentionally and organically. So it's incredible to have that kind of reach. It's kind of scary sometimes when you think about how many people are watching you, but it's been incredible.
Amazing. Well, like we discussed before, you started this back in 2009. So I had mentioned to you that you're kind of one of the original OGs in this industry. And 2009, you were just kind of like venting, it seemed. You're just complaining about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to rewind. I started on social media before there was social media. So I am a technical person by trade. I went to school at Carnegie Mellon and I started a trainee program in an IT department right after college and taught myself HTML by buying HTML for Dummies and pretty much lying to the department people and telling them that I could do it. It was a programming language like every other programming language, whatever. I still have that HTML for Dummies, by the way, it's in the basement. And so when I wanted to transition my hair, it all started with hair. When I wanted to transition my hair from its chemically straightened state to its natural state, I had no concept of how to do it. I jumped on the internet. I searched for other humans who were trying to do the same thing. I found a very small group on I guess they were called bulletin boards or forums back then, because like I said, no social media. And I decided because of my background, I was going to take my resume off of my namesake.net. I had Roshini.net back in the day. That was my URL. And I was going to start documenting my journey and everything I figured out. So my actual online start was a hand-coded website documenting my hair journey. That's literally how I entered.
And what year was that?
2000 and maybe 1 or 2. something in there. Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
had the foresight then, because many people, they have a journal, right? They were journaling back then, or
Yeah.
a diary back then. You decided that this hair journey, for some reason, that must have been monumental, this hair journey.
It was what's interesting about it, Ellen, and it's weird because only recently have I allowed myself to speak these words aloud. Like I say it funny in videos all the time. I'll be like, I did this, Google me. But it's true. I was one of, now there's a huge natural hair community in the African American hair community. It's monumental. We have changed the landscape of the natural hair movement. We have changed the aesthetic of how people walk around with their hair. People have changed laws about our hair. We have changed products. We have changed all of it. And I think I was one of the first 2 or 3 websites that was on the internet. It's mind-boggling to me. To this day, if you Google a natural hairstyle in general, a photo of me in probably many years ago will come up. It's crazy.
But that's amazing. That's a pivotal moment. That's a landmark moment. And African American women understand that. Okay. Caucasian women do not understand that. And I need you to, because we have no experience with that. I think the closest thing that one could have experience with is, and for me, not dyeing my hair and just letting it go for whatever. But we had no idea that there was something between natural hair or what do you call it? Processed hair? I
We
mean,
call it relaxed. People say
relaxed
relaxed,
hair.
right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
you know what's interesting about it, Ellen? The reason why I did it is, one, it was for myself. Partially it was selfish. I just wanted to build community. And as the years have gone on, I've learned that that is a gift of mine. I do that very well in real life and online. And 2, because we didn't know. I mean, that might sound really strange, like you're saying, but as Black women, our aesthetic, we were taught that our natural hair, how it came out of our head, needed to be altered. And that was basically how the majority of Black women that I knew growing up and around me, that's how we did our hair. I think I knew one woman.
Wait a minute. Back it up, because there's something that I don't get. Okay. Wait. I'm the pushy broad. I'm going to have to say, whoa.
Ah,
What do you mean you were told that your hair had to be altered?
it had
What
to
does
be
that mean?
altered to be presentable.
Who tells you that?
Everyone, Black women who are older than us, the culture outside of us. I mean, there are still, Ellen, if I'm being honest, there are still laws about my hair on books in this country.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Oh, it still exists. That's why I said about changing laws, because people have changed laws in our military concerning our hair. We have had laws changed concerning our schools and how kids can come to school. Literally, I'm not exaggerating, for wearing our hair in its natural state. Because our hair in its natural state was categorized as whatever. There's so many things, but it was just not. So the majority of Black women in the US, and clearly I'm speaking, broadly, there are exceptions, learned that our hair had to be altered to fit in. So you get to have your natural hair when you're a kid, but it's almost like a rite of passage. And I was saying that when I was older, in my 20s, I think I knew one person who had never chemically straightened their hair. One person, one woman. Now, I know other people now, but growing up, I knew one person. So when I got to my 20s, the reason why myself and everyone else who has done this after me on the web, on YouTube, there's a huge community, we were all learning together. We literally, imagine if I took your hair right now and I cut it off and a whole different thing came out of your scalp. We literally did not know the products. We didn't know the combs, we didn't have the products. So it was discovery for me. And I just decided I was brave enough to be on the internet, kind of looking crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, hair just looking crazy, figuring it out. And over the years, I have met I can't even tell you how many, so many people. I mean, some of my friends now, I have a friend now who met her husband because of me, because she didn't know what to do with her hair. She found my website back then. She was like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm literally just going to follow this woman. So she said she would go to my website. She said she was like 2 or 3 weeks behind me. Whatever I did, she did. She went, her hair started growing. It started looking really nice. You know, she was getting cute, whatever. She went out to a dance. And this guy comes up to her and he's like, oh my God, your hair is incredible. They're married. They actually got married a month after I did.
That's like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. And so she wrote me and she was like, you won't believe this, but I met my husband because of you. And I was like, well, that's awesome.
That is fantastic. But trust me when I tell you, I don't know a Caucasian woman that would know that story. That's an amazing story. And that is such a horror. I can't imagine what it would be like to be told that we have to wear our hair a certain way because it's supposed to look a certain way. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
you can
so
see now,
sorry.
even if you see a news anchor, like there are current stories, a news anchor, you know, news anchors kind of all have a certain look. You know, they wear the fitted sheath dress, female news anchors, you know, they have this makeup, they have the coiffed hair, you
Yes,
know,
but
everybody kind of has a look.
yes, but Black women also have a certain look on TV news anchors.
Right.
Do they
But a
not?
lot of them, if they cut their hair off or they wear their hair in a natural state, they
Yes.
start to get hate mail.
Oh
And
my
so a lot
God.
of anchors will share it on their pages, like, look at this. And you're just like, wow. I mean, people, it's interesting. So yeah, that's why I did it. It was part because I was selfish. It was part because I was brave, because I really didn't care what I was looking like on the internet. Like, I guess you told me I wasn't supposed to like this stuff, but I'm curious. Let me see what it looks like. And it was part because it was necessary.
Yes, it was necessary for you to be you. And
Mhm.
certainly it was brave and that's fantastic. And what's even more amazing is that everybody was feeling that way. And you used the power of the web to really transcend that message and it really took off. That's a marvelous thing. So kudos for that. But you had the foresight to do that a very long time ago. So you are, you know, an OG, because we're talking about 19 years ago basically, or 17, 18, 19 years ago that you did those kinds of things, which
Mhm.
was fantastic. And then it completely took off. And I know that you have evolved over the years and done different things. And I know that you are currently doing a couple of things that are really very important to you. And I know you've kind of, from what I see on your website, you've almost reinvented yourself in 2019 a little bit. It seems like a reinvention. Your videos are slightly different. You are, even though that you identify as Glamazini, you still on your videos identify yourself as Roshini. So what's happening here? Is there a reinvention happening for you?
Well, there's growth, Ellen. I'm 44. Okay. So, so well, it is. It's growth, and it's a settling more into who I actually am. You know, you're young, your concept of what you're interested in is external, although clearly important, because I just told you the roots of the hair story. And then as you get older, I realized that, if I'm being honest, I think in 2018 or 2019, I did a video that basically told everybody, yeah, I'm not doing any more hair videos. I think you guys are in good hands. Because I wanted to move on to something that I felt had more impact and that I was naturally good at. It definitely is more my gift. And honestly, that people ask me for. The way that I got into video is because my audience asked me for it. You know, I was just being myself, goofing off on Al Gore's internet. And people were commenting and they were like, you seem like you'd be funny. Have you ever thought about putting videos up? And I was like, or they said videos on YouTube. And I was like, aren't YouTube videos for cats? What are people doing on those? So it's just that the inspiring content, same thing. I'm thinking, you know, I'm showing people how to look glamorous, you know, which I was, but I'm getting inbox messages because, you know, I start sharing little pieces of my story, you know, depression diagnosis, and then eventually my son being born with special needs, all these things. And I start getting inbox messages like you won't believe. I have gotten so many deep, poignant inbox messages from people in every varied place. And I just started leaning toward that because it's my natural space.
It must have been really touching for you to get all of these messages and have people really resonate with what you were saying. Do you
They
find it
pour
was
out their hearts to me. I used to be afraid of it.
tell me about
I'm
that. What were you afraid of?
Oh my goodness. I'm one of those people where if I show you my full, okay, my name Roshini means light in Hindu. It's an Indian word. Okay. So if I show you my light, 5 minutes in, you're telling me all of your business. Like I'm always trying to shut people like, what happened? So a lot of times if you meet me in person, you either get like my actual personality, or sometimes I kind of used to glass over, which my mom hated, because it was like I was trying to not have everybody pour. I just had that effect on people. People would just tell me things. And so I think the reason why I lean into it more now is as I've gotten older, as I've done my own work, as I've matured, in all of the places in my mind and my emotions and I can handle it. I have better boundaries. I can understand what to do with it. You know what I mean? When somebody inboxes me and tells me they were raped.
Yes,
And
no,
I'm
I
like,
understand.
you
I
know,
understand. Yeah. No. I mean, I understand. I mean, as a coach too, as an empowerment coach for myself and doing all of this work, and I also specialize in recovery coaching. So the people that come to me are either addicts and alcoholics that want to go into treatment, or addicts and alcoholics that have come out of treatment. And that's a large part of the work that I do. So you do have to be sympathetic, but being empathetic is extremely hard because you have to be strong. Like you said, you have to have your own boundaries and you have to understand where you can help and where you can hold on to who you are so that you do not overwhelm yourself with the world's problems and still make it effective and communicate with people in a really good way. So I completely understand what you're saying. When you're an empath, you're kind of a sieve. It's kind of a sponge, and then you explode. So that's not a good thing. And you're right. I mean, getting older gives you that kind of maturity so that you're able to move forward. So this is almost like a calling for you then, would you say?
yes. When I was younger, I was plagued with my very existential crisis of like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? I spent years stewing in that, just being absolutely horrified by the concept that I was going to live on this planet and never really do what I was meant to do. And the realization, Ellen, was I was already doing it. There was a piece when I realized that I was already doing it. And that's why I start my videos that way, because I'm bringing you light and laughter, because I've literally always been bringing you light and laughter. Even when I was trying not to, I would try to put up serious videos and people would be like, oh my God, you're so funny. And I'm just like, I am a trained I'm not, but I am a professional. I am trying to be serious. I'd see other people do these videos and I'd be like, I can do that. Did not work because I was already doing it. So I was looking for something outside and it was here, it was inside. And I think the piece and the shift maybe that you noticed was just an understanding and like a settling into, oh, it's in you, Roshini. You are doing it. There is no more, am I doing what I should do? Am I a cook? Am I a dancer? Am I a singer? No, I'm a light and laughter creator. That's literally what I do. If you come to me, you're leaving with light or laughter. Something's happening.
Either one. Well, that's exactly how I felt about being the pushy broad. It's not a persona. It really is exactly who I am. I mean, I'm upfront, I'm in your face, and that's the kind of thing, I am. But like I said, I noticed that because you introduce yourself as Roshini Cope, is Roshini and Glamazini the same person anymore, or what? How does that balance out?
I keep Glamazini because of the legacy of the name. I have a running joke about how I think my tagline used to be life, liberty, P and the pursuit of happiness. So with my hair, it was hair related. And then I switched it over the years to my glamorous, amazing life. Even though, full disclosure, the AZ in Glamazini is for Amazon.
Amazon, yes, that I know.
Because I am 6'1" and my friends would call me Amazini. And then when I would post all of my, every once I am a big goofball, but listen, I have a neck and cheekbones. Okay. So I can serve looks on the Instagrams if I need to. Every 3 to 4 months, I hit them with a smize just to let them remember that I can't. And then I go back to being a goof off. And so my friends would start calling me Glamazini, being silly. And then when I wanted to change from Roshini.net, my old website, to a blog, I was like, Glamazini sounds fun. So it's weird because are they the same person? In my mind, I feel like it is. I feel like I know that sometimes people who have a public persona will be like, well, I'm a different person at home. I am a different person at home, but I think I'm a different person that is, what you see as Glamazini is very authentic. I was talking to my coaching clients about this, and one of them asked me the difference between transparency and authenticity. And I was like, I said, I'm not transparent with you guys because as a coach, I'm not, you don't have access to all of my things. But what you see is what you pretty much get. I was like, some of my coaching clients have met me in real life, and they unmuted and they were like, yeah, that's her. That's her when you meet her. That's her when you're hanging out with her. That's me. And so, yeah, Glamazini is me because there is like a glamorous side. I mean, clearly I like aesthetics. I also am obsessed with pineapples. And so I just kind of let it exist.
You said that. And in your honor today, I need to tell you, I have this in the house and I brought it and I loved it. And in your honor, I need to tell you that Perrier makes an amazing pineapple seltzer.
That's awesome because I love Perrier, but I've never had pineapple seltzer from them.
It is a brand new product for them. And here's my shout out to Perrier that they better be calling us, okay? Because this is amazing. So I know I see your pineapples are all over the place.
They're everywhere, and they're here. They're just it's
order it. Order it on Amazon. It comes to the door.
Yeah, and I just let it. I let Roshini show up in the space. Does that make sense?
What's the deal with pineapples? Why? What's the deal?
Okay, pineapples are. I love that you asked me this because people ask me this and it's intentional. Pineapples are an intentional emblem of my joy. I'm drawn to the color yellow. I just like it. It makes me happy. It started out as actually everything is sitting right here because I'm that chick. It started out as duckies, right? Then people started giving me 8 million duckies years ago. It was a long time ago. It transformed to Sunshine Bear. So I have a couple of these. I have this one. I have one in the car because of course you need one to drive with, right, Ellen? I mean, when you need to go somewhere, you need a Sunshine Bear. And then I think, I don't even know what brought me to the pineapples. They just make me freaking happy. They just make me happy. And like I said, I lean into that joy because I've had a lot of difficult things happen to me in my life. And so I feel like if life is going to come at me with difficult things, I should be intentional about my joy. And so I just kind of ran with the pineapples. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe, they showed up in my videos anyway, but I made an intentional decision to bring them into my brand. And I mean, that's it. If I end a video without saying, oh, and here's a pineapple, I get comments. You didn't give me my pineapple. What's going on with you? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
That's really hysterical. I was waiting for a video that, and I might have missed it, and I apologize if I did miss it, but I was waiting for the video that showed me how to peel or crack open a pineapple and eat a pineapple because I was enthralled by your how to eat a mango video. And I was, oh my God, this is a whole thing. I had no idea that I never need to use a knife again for a mango. And I need to hold on to the mango pit, obviously, and fight for it if somebody's trying to take away from me. It's a whole thing. So I'm really appreciative of that tidbit from you. And I was wondering if you were going to make a pineapple video because I'm sure you have a specific way of cutting it open and eating it. I'm sure you do.
No, you know what's funny, Ellen? I've only made one pineapple video and it wasn't even like the mango video. The mango video, strangely enough, was me on Periscope goofing off, just off the top, talking about this video I saw on Facebook, goofing off. And I thought, well, that's really funny. And I took it off of Periscope, I edited it and put it up elsewhere. So the only pineapple video I've ever done is my dad gave me a pineapple when I went home to the Virgin Islands. And I did like a little, like one of those jump cut videos. I think I was calling it like pineapple murder. It's a really old video. It's probably like 5 years ago. And it literally was just like the top's gone, the bottom's gone. You know what I mean? Like the things are gone, whatever. And then I'm just like, I think I had the knife and I was like shoving it in my mouth, whatever. But yeah, I've never done that one. But yeah, the mango video and a lot of the earlier videos that went viral, what happened when I leaned into what I already was. Does that make sense? So like I said, a lot of them were me goofing off on Periscope, if I'm being honest. One of my first viral videos, well, the first viral video I ever had wasn't with my face. It was just like a cartoon. The second viral video, the first one with my face in it, I was in this room trying to film a very, serious, remember I told you I'm serious. So I'm filming a serious video about a health thing I was doing. And my battery died. So I went out on the landing with my phone, and while I charged my battery, I just talked about, I think it was about the inauguration. It was just like, blah, 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 blah,
Back
being
in
silly.
2016 or
Yeah,
Barack?
and then
Back
exactly. And then I took a small snippet out of this goofing off video. That was just 100, I don't know how many videos, 500,000, I don't know. And I was like, whoa, what was that? What's going on? I was like, okay, people seem to like me just talking off the top of my head. Here I am trying to show up, and I'm already present. You know what I mean? I'm attempting to show up, and I'm already here.
Yeah. No, I know exactly how you feel. My team always tells me you need to just talk about the stuff that you want to talk about. And I kept saying that, do people really want to know that? But I guess in many ways they do. They just want to know more about you, and they want to see who you are. And it's very indicative of the people that follow you. I mean, they want you to be real no matter what you do. And it's true, when you least expect it, you are that person. And there's something else that struck me about you when you talked about the fact, and I loved this. You talked about the fact that that Rastafarians always say I and I, God and I, and that was really moving for me. Okay, really moving for me. And then you talked about the fact that after you always sign your emails and everything else with I and I. So basically you're living that, right? You're walking with God on a regular basis. And in recovery, they say, when you open your mouth, you ask God to speak for you. You ask God to speak for you. And that's basically what you're doing. And that's what really attracts people, because you have an authenticity about you. And it's not planned. And it's not, the glamour part of you. It's the Roshini part of you. It's the I and I part of you. And that's what attracts.
Thank you for saying that. I forgot I put that on my website. Yeah, my name is a Hindu word, and it ends with I and I. And when I was growing up in the Virgin Islands, I always thought that was so interesting that the last 3 letters of my name were what Rastafarians would say as God and I. And so I did start signing my emails as I and I, my personal emails, and a friend started pronouncing it Eenie. And I remember I stopped him at first. I was like, it's not Eenie, it's I and I. He's not trying to be all spiritual or whatever. And he was like, yeah, no, I've been calling that Eenie for years. It's going to be Eenie. And to this day, I'm Eenie. Everybody calls me Eenie. People who have never met me call me Eenie. There are bulletin boards with emoji shortcuts with Eenie. Ironically, they are always something silly. One of them is a little emoji running back and forth on one of these books. Because it just always resonated with me. So it's so wonderful that you say that. I will take that with me and add it to my, my understanding of how my name helped me show up in the world. That's great.
I think so. I really do think so. I also see that you are very funny, that I think that many, many times you're funny with the things that you don't say. It's not what you say to me that's always funny. What's funny to me is the way you look when you say it. Okay, so you're sitting there with your mouth open, and when we do the podcast, my listeners are not going to understand that I've dumbfounded you. So I will explain some more what I'm talking about here. Is like, oh, she's not saying anything. Okay, so listen to what I mean. Okay, when I watched your stuff, I hear what you're saying, and you know, it depends upon whether or not I'm feeling the funny. Sometimes I am, and yes, I smile. But what makes me completely crack up about you is the facial expressions you make after you say something. Okay. You do this, and I'm sure people have told you. And if they haven't, they've been missing something, and you've been missing something, because when you do this and then you give your sideways glance and your eyes kind of dart back and forth so that you really say, I mean, are you getting what I'm saying here? And are you really, that is hysterical.
Well, that's good to know, Ellen. I see. I think
That is over the top.
well,
And
this is
that's
answering
unique about you. That's unique to you.
and you're answering my question as to why I was trying to be serious and everybody was laughing because I was like, I don't understand. I'm trying to be deep. I went to a very prestigious school and I'm trying to be deep, and nobody's.
Hysterical. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a combination of the Madonna Vogue pose. Yeah. Remember the Vogue?
Yeah.
And Billy Porter in Pose.
Oh,
It's just,
hey, Billy Porter went to my same school. We went to Carnegie Mellon.
amazing. It's so funny. And when you just stop dead, as if, you know, absorb what I'm saying, and your eyes kind of dart back and forth, and you're like you almost can't believe that you said what you just said, or you want people to really absorb what you said. That's killer. It doesn't matter if you read a telephone book, and that's,
you know what's
really
funny,
dangerous.
Ellen? You just made
That's
me think of
funny.
something. You literally just made me connect a dot. Okay, so I'm a dancer. I'm a dancer, like a trained dancer, like ballet, modern, jazz, and tap, danced in a dance company growing up, like the whole shebang. I'm a dancer. And so I haven't danced in years beyond church, right? Praise dance. But I have always said that movement is my first language. So it's interesting that you're saying that, because when people will say like dancing and stuff, but not just dancing, it's why I'm good with photos. I told you I'm a goof off, but if you want me to slay an Instagram picture right now, I got you, Ellen. Okay. I can immediately go from silly to Vogue cover, no joke, and then right back. And
so give us that right now. Go ahead, give us that right now, because we'll screenshot it. Go ahead, girl.
Wait.
No. I want to see it. I want to see the Vogue shot, and then I want to see the silly shot. So tell me what you're doing. Tell me when it is, because
well, it feels really weird on a Zoom call.
I'm going to start to laugh, and I was like,
I know you can't, but
I'm going to laugh at her, and she's going to be pissed at me.
No, it's fine. You can laugh. What I'll do is, I can't do it now, but what I'll do is just show you random photo shoots that I've done just for fun.
Okay.
And you'll be like, oh, what is she doing? Yeah, just every once in a while, I get I get myself out with a photographer and go for it.
I know that, but the video stuff with your eyes darting back and forth, it's like, did you hear what I said? Or I can't believe what somebody has said. It's like you're trying to absorb it based on what you're talking about, and you have this thing where you know, like, do you believe it? And you just have your eyes darting back and forth, and then you have that look, and that's what makes me crack up. And that is your signature, and that is unique.
That's awesome, Ellen. Thank you. Because that literally, like I said, it goes with what I've always thought, which is my best speech to you is through my movement. I've always thought that. It's why I take good pictures. It's why like you said, why I'm good on video, why you get all of this hand situation and all of that, you know, and it's why I'm a good dancer. So it's interesting that you point that out, because I definitely think that. I don't think I've ever pinpointed it as much as you've said it, but I know that my movements and my facial expressions are a thing. It's how I communicate. Like, I have to incorporate the whole body into what I'm trying to get.
Without a doubt. I mean, look, I too, I've got the hand things going. I have to be all in it. I have to be doing all of this. And it's very, very hard when we're just in front of the camera for, it's kind of a short lens. It's a small lens. And, unless you're following yourself around doing something, it's really difficult to get it all in. But your face and the way your eyes move, it cracks me up. It doesn't matter what you said. I don't care what you said. I can't even remember what your jokes are. It's not about the jokes. It's about how you're interpreting those jokes and how you're looking at the audience so that we're a part of it. You really grab us and you take us in. And that's what makes it not only hysterical, but very charming and endearing. So kudos.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate that.
Really fantastic. So now let me ask you something that really caught me. Tell us about your son.
All right. So you see my face? Although I shouldn't be smiling because I'm helping him with virtual school right now. And that's not my favorite world.
Oh my God. That is
rough.
Tough.
It's a rough one. But yeah, so in 2011, I found out that I was pregnant. First time trying to get pregnant, got pregnant immediately. I still remember that I found out on Halloween, my ultrasound was going to be on Valentine's Day and his due date was 4th of July. So it's like my holiday baby. And everything was fine up until I went to said ultrasound, 20-week ultrasound. And at my 20-week ultrasound, I was given a laundry list of horrible diagnoses.
And I know that, because I heard you on there. But for our listeners, would you be kind enough to give us an idea of the kinds of things you heard from the doctor?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you all of them because I don't like to speak all of them. But the ones that actually happened that they told me is my son has spina bifida. He has the most extreme version, which is called myelomeningocele. It has to do with development of your spine, right? So he has the most extreme version. He also has a Chiari-2 malformation. So spina bifida is the closing of your spine at the base, at your lumbar, didn't close entirely. Chiari-2 malformation is the other side of your spine. So basically your spine closes from the middle up when you are in your mom's belly, like a zipper. So both ends didn't close properly. Somebody can have one without the other. He has both ends. And because of his spina bifida, he developed hydrocephalus, which is, old people in the Virgin Islands used to call it water on the brain. It's basically like your brain fluid is collecting in your head, right? So I was given that prognosis among a lot of other things. And was told that he was probably not going to live longer than 3 days if I carried him to term, and that I needed to terminate my pregnancy immediately. So I was pregnant, 20 weeks pregnant. I was by myself because my husband was with me. But when they were done and we found out that he was a boy, I thought we were done. He had to go to class. So I told him he could leave. And then they told me I had to have another ultrasound and then another ultrasound. So I was doing that by myself. And not only that, when I was in that room, and if you've ever, I'm sure you have at this point, experienced trauma, it is just like they show you in the movies. Everything starts
slowing down.
It goes in slow motion. When I tell you, I can still be sitting pregnant on that table in the room and watching the ultrasound tech. She kind of looked at me and then her eyes went down like this. It was slow motion. And the doctor's talking and I'm not hearing him. And at one point in my brain, I'm like, wait, you need to listen. He's saying something important, girl, So, all of that was happening. And when I came out of my, what is going on? One of the things that doctor, not my OBGYN, the doctor that was on call that day said to me was, well, you're going to be 36 when you, I guess it was 36 or 35. I can't remember. You're going to be 35 when you deliver. So what did you expect?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and you know what,
no.
Ellen? I take every point to tell people about that now, because back then I was in such shock that I just couldn't even.
I would have punched him in the face, I think.
I kind of wish I had, God forbid. But listen, I kind of wish I had, but I was in such shock that I do not remember leaving that room. I don't remember leaving that office. It was on the 4th floor of a building. I do not remember the elevator. My next memory is going toward the car with the phone in my hand and telling my husband, don't go to class, something's wrong with the baby. So for the next 16 weeks, I had multiple non-stress tests a week, 16 more ultrasounds, so 1 a week. I was admitted to labor and delivery week 33, 34-ish. You would have loved me, Ellen. You want to talk about Pushy? I was that girl. Okay. You were not going to take this baby out my stomach. I was Ellen, we would have been best friends. They kept sending doctors in and trying to explain it to me, because I guess I was like the hormonal crazy woman that wouldn't like sign the paperwork in case.
Well, I mean, like Linda Blair on The Exorcist, that old movie. Yeah.
It was like, listen, you're not. And they were in there just continually sending people in to explain to me that what I didn't understand. I was like, no, what y'all don't understand is I asked God I was that girl. Listen, what I asked God for was 37 weeks minimum. Okay, 37 weeks minimum is 34 weeks. What we're not about to do is cut this baby out. Like, I was in there just clowning, and they'd be like, okay. And then they'd leave. And then like 20 minutes later, somebody else would come in. And the thing is, I hadn't eaten. So I don't know if you've ever had a baby, but I hadn't eaten. I was 34 weeks pregnant. I had eaten all day, Ellen, because when I went to the doctor, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the bread co and get me some like souffles or something after this. I was going to just obliterate, and they were like, no, we're going to admit you. So I was hangry. I was pregnant, and they were trying to take him out of my stomach early, and I was not having it. So anyway, that happened. He was fine in there like that, and they let me out after I threatened them, and they gave me a ham sandwich.
Well, you got food. Okay.
It was one of those nasty hospital ham sandwiches, but when I tell you, it was the best ham sandwich, Ellen, do you hear me? So anyway, after that whole thing, and he was born at 38 and a half weeks, and 5 weeks in the NICU. I remember going into the NICU on day 4, standing over what I was affectionately calling the baby toaster. I don't know what it's called, not the isolate, because most of the kids in the NICU are preemies. My son was not a preemie. The other thing is they were telling me he was underweight. So the whole time he was measuring 5 pounds and under, came out 8 pounds, 1 ounce, just a big old turkey.
At 34 weeks?
Nobody said anything to me. Yeah.
Oh,
so imagine if I had carried him the whole time. I knew that was the reason I was hungry. I was murdering burgers at that point. I'm talking, the burger would last 20 minutes. And I was off to the next thing. I was like, I need a pizza, So yeah, 8 pounds, 1 ounce.
Wow. At 34 weeks. You're right. And it would probably have to have been a cesarean.
Yes. So they did a C-section, which I did not want, but I had to do that. And 5 weeks in the NICU, multiple surgeries, and they literally sent me home. Me, a person who had never changed a diaper, me, a person who had never watched a baby, me, a person who had never done anything, with a child being held together with glue and stitches, literally surgical glue and stitches. Goodness. We had to change. He had an open wound. His spina bifida wound was actually very atypical. So he had an open wound on his back that didn't close for 4 months. So we had to dress an open wound for 4 months. And
now he's truly a miracle, is he?
Now he's great. Now he's totally annoying my Zion.
His name is Zion. And how old is he now?
He's 8. He's in 3rd grade. We're doing virtual school. It's right outside my door. And he's bossy. Like, the thing that's crazy is they told me he wasn't going to talk. And now when he says stuff to me, as a parent, it's hard, especially as a funny parent, because you don't want your kid to lip off. But I'm impressed by his timing. So like, I want to say, hey, don't speak to me like that. But at the same time, I'll be like, okay, that was funny.
So you're raising a comedian is what you're saying. With facial expressions and movement. Does he have the same thing? So he's like a mini me is what you're saying.
Listen, you want to hear the best
he's
conversation?
He's a mini Eenie is what
Ellen,
he is?
the best conversation ever was a few months ago during this pandemic when I said to him, you know, they told me you weren't going to talk. And he was like, who? I said, you. They told me you weren't going to talk. And he went, huh, that's funny.
Unbelievable.
It was the best. When I tell you, it just warmed something right in this vicinity.
Yes.
It was great. Yeah. So listen, it was not easy. And when I tell people all of the reality of what it was like, I realized that I'm kind of happy I didn't know how hard it was because I was just doing what was necessary. You know, I remember speaking to his neurosurgeon further along down the path and asking him, so is my on a scale of like spina bifida to like what the heck like where is my son? And he was like, he's probably the second hardest closure I've ever done. And I was like, really? And then I said, I'm so happy I didn't know that.
Of course. So what advances have they made in medicine today that makes you hopeful?
You know, what's interesting, when he was born, he had to get a VP shunt, which is a ventricular something shunt, a brain shunt. So basically like the easy way of saying it is they put a pipe to help your brain fluid inside your brain drain down into your abdomen. Okay, so that you don't get hydrocephalus and your head doesn't swell up and you don't have brain damage. And shortly thereafter, actually right when he was being born, they were experimenting with intrauterine surgeries. And right now, in 2020, intrauterine surgery is way more common. I actually was hooked up with a mom through the hospital earlier this year who was considering it, had it done, and has had incredible results from it since she had her son. Like the hospital put us together. But back when I was sitting there with him in 2012, it was like brand new. They were just coming out. And I was like, I don't know if I want you to do that, because turns out that when he came out, probably wouldn't have worked for his particular type of lesion, his particular spina bifida presentation. So that was a perfect decision that I did. So the angry chick in the hospital that wouldn't let him go in, she was right. Like when it came out, they were like, oh, this wouldn't have been a thing up. Right. And the other thing that has changed is he doesn't have a shunt anymore, because there is a surgery called ETV. I don't know what the name means. Ventricular something. I forget. Oh, endoscopic, I think, third ventricular something is what it is. They go into the brain and they create an opening now where the opening didn't develop properly, so that if it works well for you, your brain will start to function more normatively and it will drain on its own. So at the time, it was experimentally again, and we were like, sure, why not? Because the worst thing that could have happened in that particular, see, that's the funny thing. I'm like, sure, why not brain surgery? But we had already had multiple. So it's weird. I was just like, sure, let's do it. And it worked. So then it doesn't work for everyone, but he hasn't had a shunt since he was 2.
That's marvelous. Really.
And when he had this surgery, that's when he started talking. His first word was octopus. It was the weirdest thing ever. He was in a therapy appointment with me, so I know I didn't hear it myself. We were looking at a book with, he hadn't spoken since then. So the doctors told me he wasn't going to talk. He
was 2?
Yeah, he hadn't said anything since like at the time. And the doctors had told me he was going to be nonverbal. He was going to be all the things. And so I believed them, because I was like, there's no vocalization at all. Not even like a good bop, like nothing really. So we had the surgery, we're at a therapy appointment, we're looking at a book of animals, and he says, octopus. And I looked at the therapist and she looked at me and she goes, did you just hear him say octopus? Did I just hear the word octopus? And it made sense, because the book was a book with animals and there was an octopus on the previous page. And so to this day, I'm like, the first word you actually said was octopus, which makes me realize he could hear us. You know what I mean? He just wasn't able to vocalize something about how his brain was functioning, and the surgery helped. And it just got better. It just got better and better.
That's one amazing word for a 2-year-old right there. Okay?
That's what I'm saying.
One amazing word for sure. That is a remarkable story. So let's bring it to the present. Tell me how your work in as who you are has also helped other women and other families with the work that you're doing with your son. How has that evolved over the years? What
Sure.
kind of feedback are you getting?
So because I was doing videos online just in general, I was doing pregnancy vlogs. Every week I would film a video of myself and I would talk about pregnancy things. When I found out about my son, I did not tell anybody. I kept doing my vlogs as though nothing happened on the front end. And I didn't share my son's diagnosis until a year later. Since then, I have, I wouldn't even say his name online. It's been a journey.
That must have been very hard for you. Here you
You know,
were vlogging, doing your own thing, somewhat humorous and somewhat fun. That must have been really hard for you. Tell me about that.
you know what, Ellen? I realize now in therapy, because I love therapy. I realize that I do a lot of things that are very difficult, and I'm just heads down going, not even realizing how difficult this is. When I look back on that season, I believe that the reason why I kept putting up videos was because I wanted something that felt familiar. First of all, my videos are expression to me, right? I have a depression diagnosis. I believe that the opposite of depression is expression. And my videos have become a platform where I express myself. So I feel like when I look back on me back then, I think I just kept doing it because it was just kind of what I do. I had a friend who had something difficult happen to her earlier this year, and she was putting up videos. Well, earlier last year, she started putting up videos about it at the end of the year. And it's not a topic that you would think somebody be putting up videos about. And she said something, it stuck with me. She said, singers sing, dancers dance, and vloggers vlog. And I was like, yeah. So in that season, I think it was that. I think it was my story started coming out. Now, the year later, when I said, hey, this is going on, and then it was like a drip that I started sharing it. And then you want to talk about inbox messages. I think it is incredible for people to see themselves. The same way how people would come to their computer and see a Black woman with natural hair, when I first started, and be like, wait a minute, what's she doing? And then it turned into, I would get inboxes and say, I've never seen a Black Christian woman admit that she has a depression diagnosis on the internet. Like, they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, what are you doing? Why are we whispering?
Right. Why aren't we talking about
this? Why aren't we talking about this? And then the same thing with my son. It was like, they were like, wait, you're me. I'm me. You're me. Like, I would get these inboxes and be like, wait, how? And then I would start getting, wait, why are you so happy? How are you doing this? And I was like, what do you mean? Am I not supposed to be happy?
Really, you said some very, very interesting things here. You said the opposite of depression is expression. And that's a very poignant statement, because the more we get it out, right, the more we give it the cathartic experience of expelling it, the less we hold on to it. Mm-hmm. Very simply, very basically. And also here in everything that you've done with your son and everything else, you are truly a woman who pushed for more. And the most amazing thing is that sometimes you didn't even realize it. You kind of backed into it, because you said, we didn't even realize what to be scared about. I was so glad that I didn't know everything that I knew later. So, but you just kept saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. And you kept saying, I got to talk about this in another way, even if I didn't talk about this specifically, without even realizing it. As a woman who pushed for more, actually broke down barriers and opened new pathways for women to be able to discover things. So it's amazing that you are this pushy broad without even realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've created, it was very, very important to me. I know Pushy, and I've kind of attached a backronym to it, because Pushy, as far as I'm concerned, is something that you meet and everybody else meets, because Pushy is powerful, unafraid, self-aware, hardworking, young at heart female. And I think that that's who you are, for sure. So in many ways, don't you think you identify yourself as a pushy broad? A woman?
Oh, absolutely. I listened to a few of your podcast episodes. I knew what pushy was, and yes, ma'am, I'm right there with you.
So that's really amazing. I mean, it's just so funny that most people maybe upfront think this, but from more of your story, like you said, why aren't we talking about this? I mean, it seemed just the most natural thing for you to do. And it was very, very hard for women to identify with that, but you opened the floodgates in a way, I guess.
Yeah, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? It just makes me feel so fulfilled when I get messages from people like that. And I realize that that very thing is one of my superpowers, because the topic has changed over the years. It used to be, you're the reason why I, feel comfortable in my natural hair. Then it turned into, you're the reason why I went to my therapist, found my therapist. I didn't know I had I literally had somebody tell me, I didn't know I had depression. You did a video about the signs of depression. And I was like, whoa, that's me. Wait a minute. Then it turns into, you're the reason why I realized my life wasn't over when I got a spina bifida diagnosis. And then it turns in, what I mean? And I'm just like, huh. So I keep having the same through line with different aspects of my life, where I'm just trying to show up as much as possible. Like I said, that expression thing has and is still a journey, because like I said, I have a major depressive disorder diagnosis from a psychiatrist 20 years ago. Okay. Of all the things he could have told me about me.
Something, that's a very old diagnosis.
I
Okay.
know, and I'm like,
I don't agree with that. I mean, there is nothing that I have seen, and I haven't seen anything that you have shared in that major situation. So I am saying, girlfriend, you need a new diagnosis from a new person.
Yeah, I definitely am not in the place I was in, but let me tell you, I've been low. So, and it was extended. So, but that space, and I think I see it as brave now. I don't see it as brave, Ellen. Something about me just doesn't, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, I just kind of am more comfortable with vulnerability. So I'm willing to get on the internet and show people what my hair looks like when nobody else will. And I'm willing to talk about depression when nobody else will. And I find out, like you said, on the back end, I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be ashamed of this. Here's case in point. I'm 6'1". I've been 6'1" since I was 6 foot at 10, and I grew an extra inch. So I've been 6'1" most of my life. I didn't know I was supposed to be ashamed of my height. I didn't know. I found out later that women are like really ashamed of their height. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? We look like models. Like, nobody told me.
Right, exactly. But that's the same thing that happened to me. I was raised as a pushy broad. Nobody told me that I had to be ashamed of being a pushy broad. Nobody told me that the Urban Dictionary definition of a pushy broad is something that I can't share on the air with you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because I am out to change that definition, and maybe you'll help me. You'll be part of the movement to help me do it. Okay. Because the pushy broad is going to be exactly what we talked about here. But nobody told me that I needed to be ashamed to be an outspoken woman, because I just thought outspoken just simply meant to speak out. And I was entitled to do that. And that's what makes you a genuine pushy broad, because you are not ashamed to speak your mind and not think about what other people are thinking about you, or what society deems is acceptable or unacceptable or taboo. And that's what makes it really authentic. And that's where you need to stay. That's absolutely where you need to stay, despite what anybody else has to say. But I could hardly see you depressed. I mean,
oh yeah, no, I was.
Yeah, but for me, I think it was. I think it may have been subjective depression, where there was something going on at the time, and maybe you were moving into a different situation.
No, I was down, Ellen. I know it doesn't seem that way. I was bad.
And that's why. So, as a young child, as a young person?
No, it started, my depression episode, my awareness of my depression episode started in early adulthood, when I experienced approximately a death every 7 to 8 months of a loved one for a decade.
And I understand that, but here we go with kind of subjective. It was for specific reasons. It wasn't because it was, it was a chemical imbalance coming out of low self-esteem or those kinds of situations. You had legitimate reasons for depression because they were, people were leaving you. It was a sense of abandonment. It was a sense of loneliness. It was also a sense of grief. And part of
Right. But there
grief
were,
is
I guess all I'm
depression.
saying is, yeah, there were other things going on too. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily lean into a depression diagnosis now, but it was a real thing. It was a real thing. Like, for example, the physiology of it that changed
Yeah.
was a couple, 3 years ago, I started eating differently, and the physical presentation of my depression just went away. It was
There
the
you
weirdest
go.
thing. And what was weird about that was I didn't realize that that wasn't me until
I
it lifted off
understand.
of me. And I was like, wait a minute. I remember walking around the house telling my husband, I was like, what's going on? And he was like, what's happening? I was like, my brain is on. And he's like, what do you mean by that? I was like, my brain is on. Like, it's firing in a way I don't think it has fired in my entire adulthood. And he was like, well, that's weird. And I was like, huh. And then over time, I was like, well, that's interesting. So now, if I feel sad, it's the situational thing you're talking about. Absolutely. But before and for years, it was, and when I tell you it was an abyss of darkness.
Right, I understand, but understand, I am not doubting that there was a chemical imbalance, possibly because of nutrition and because of circumstance, because that all is a contributor, right? It
Mhm.
could be physical, it could be sociological, it could be environmental, right? It could be all of those things, and it could be mental. But the best thing about it is, and what you've just said, and what your listeners want to hear is, you're not doomed to have that diagnosis for the rest of your life. And that's a wonderful thing. And
Mhm.
that's a great message that you can share, that you are not doomed to be, clinically depressed forever. There could be ways that you could move out of that diagnosis. And that's the wonderful thing about self-development and growth and understanding and being aware of what's happening to you and being aware of the fact that you can make changes in your diagnosis, either through medication or nutrition or in expression, as you
Mhm.
say, but we are not doomed to live that way, and that's
Absolutely.
what makes you a hopeful icon.
I agree. I think that in the beginning, I looked at it as a finite label. And shortly after, it wasn't that many years, but a few years in, I thought, well, oh, and I was waiting for it to go away. I was waiting to live after I figured out the depression thing. That was kind of where my mind was. And then I started to realize this isn't really leaving, and I got stuff to do. So I
Which is not what a depressed person would say.
was like, this is always here. I really thought of it like a thorn in my flesh. I was like, this just is not lifting. This is going to be present. So I decided, well, I guess if I have to live with this thing, I'm going to figure out how I live with this thing. And then the journey began. It was like the journey of seeking, And I tell my coaching clients all the time, I'm like, seekers find. And that's the fun thing about being a seeker. I was like, seekers find. When we're looking for the thing, we find it. A lot of times it's inside of us, but we find it because we're looking for it. We might look at a bunch of wrong places a few times, but we're going to stumble on something that's going to revolutionize and make us realize, like you just said, that we do have a choice. We have an option. Now, I would never make it seem like anybody that's depressed is choosing depression. I would never say that. But I definitely agree with the fact that you can affect your experience of depression. You absolutely can. Even if it never fully leaves you, you can choose small things and move yourself in a different direction. That has been my experience. And that has been my experience if I coach other people. They don't want to hear me. When I tell you, I literally had a coaching client tell me that today. She was like, you gathered me up and I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear what you said. I didn't want it. I didn't want it. When I started with her, our first coaching call, she was literally in the bed under the covers talking to me. And I was like, so But what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? And now it's
We
not
can
on
take
top.
some really interesting pictures in here, can't we?
Yeah, I was like, okay, you know, so yeah, I mean, you have a choice in how you experience this thing, even if sometimes your brain is betraying you, even if sometimes your
Absolutely.
body is betraying you. Yeah, and that has been my experience moving forward. So absolutely. But yeah, I didn't know all of that early on. So when I tell you I would just head dive into the abyss, Ellen, and just be in there. I would just be in the darkness. Just, I guess I'm here.
I hear you, but again, you said something that's very, very poignant. You said you had to search. Being a seeker, you shall find. You know, everybody has their why, and we always put that in. Mine is right in front of me here. I can read it to you, and my why is very poignant to what you're talking about. My why, and the reason why I do all of this, is to educate, empower, and inspire hope in people so that they realize they are not stuck and that change is always possible.
Mhm.
And that's the foundation of everything. Everything changes. Life is about change. And no matter what, there are ways. And with new inventions, new education, new things, yes, we could have disease or illness to degrees, but there are always ways to learn new things and to adapt, right? And to search and to manifest things that will make us feel better and will make us grow. And I
Mhm.
think that's what you did. And I think through all of this, you were able to evolve where, like you said, now sometimes there's just maybe situational depression, but it's certainly nowhere near what you had before. So you're a perfect example of the fact that you can move things forward.
Absolutely. I tell my coaching clients, once again, I have to laugh because my coaching clients, they'll be like, I don't like you, but you're helping me so much. What are we talking about? I'm great. What are you talking about? No, but like I always say, create a great day. And they're like, here you are with this create a great day. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to tell you have a great day
Yeah.
because it doesn't put you in the driver's seat of your day.
Create a
If
great
I
day
tell
is a
you
good thing.
create a great day, it puts right in your mind. And I have a coaching client right now. She said, I'll be like, I hope I have a wait. And she said, I'll hear you. And I'll be like, I'm going to create a great day. Exactly. Because if you wake up and you think, I hope I have a good day, then you are in the passenger seat of your day.
That's
But
a
if you wake up and you
wonderful.
think I'm going to create a great day, then you own what you're about to create. And even if you don't hit the mark, I promise you're going to aim at something better. You just are. And so, yeah, I hear their voices in my head because they'll be like, oh, you want to create a great day. Also, it's kind of changing my life. I'm
And
like, what?
right. And I hate you for it anyway. So I have
Right.
to
I
tell
don't
you that.
want to. I want to leave it alone.
Right. No, I hear you too. I completely understand. Clients say the same thing to me, and I tell them, look, you asked for the pushy broad, you've got the pushy broad. Okay. I mean, really, you wanted me, you got me, and you have part cheerleader and a part drill sergeant. I am in your corner, but I am gonna tell you what's going on here. So you can either sit there and whine about it, or you can get to it. And I tell them, you want to stay miserable, don't call me. That's my motto. Stay miserable, don't call me. You want help? Let's work it out. Let's
Mhm.
work it through. But create a great day. I love that. And you're right. It puts you right in the driver's seat. Yes, it does. So new things on the horizon. What's the next step for you? What are you seeing happening here? What's going
Oh my
on?
goodness. Well, you know what? That's a great question. But honestly, my focus in this pandemic was to stay alive, first of all. And now I am heads down helping my son because my son has special needs. He has an all day assist when he is in school. And so now that he's at virtual school, I am his all day assist. I'm in third grade all day. So it's interesting because now my content, even today, I filmed a video where I was trying to ask, like, can somebody explain to me why our coins are the way they are? Because like when you're teaching a kid math and you're teaching a kid things, you start to realize that some things don't make no sense. Like what, why is this way? You know, or if you're sitting in a third grade class all day, it's comedy gold. Okay, it's great. So I just jump on and I just make fun of that. But yeah, so my focus right now, I'm not putting pressure on myself but it's very time consuming. And so I told myself, see what happens in this space and then move on. I would also like to go back to school. I started a degree many years ago and I never finished it.
What, your undergrad degree? You started an undergrad degree?
I
thought
have an
you have an
undergrad.
undergrad, right?
I
You
started,
graduated from Carnegie Mellon, you
I
said.
graduated
Yes.
from Carnegie Mellon, yes. And so I have an undergrad degree and I started a graduate degree and I never finished it. I barely finished it. Then I started another graduate degree and I didn't do that one either. So there you have it. Okay, I started a degree in psychology, didn't finish it. Started an MBA at WashU, didn't finish it. And I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. But fast forward now, I am that weirdo that buys textbooks and just reads them. I have a textbook sitting on my nightstand right now because somebody put a page from an article in a Facebook group and I had to read the rest of it. So I reverse image Google searched the page to see what it was. And it was a textbook and I bought the book.
What
So
book? What book?
It's the Handbook of Family Therapy, something or the other. So, so anyway, I, before the pandemic, I looked up all this information. I was like, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to study this. I'm already voraciously like, I mean, I signed up for a workshop this weekend by a leading researcher in narcissism for coaches. And like, I'm that person where I head dive into this information. I just love it. So like everybody, my husband, my friend, they're like, just go back to school. Oh my God, stop sending us articles. So I definitely see that on the horizon. Not necessarily because I want to become a therapist, or anything like that, but I want to expand me. And however that allows me to show up in my space, I want to do that. The other thing that's interesting is I watched one of my own videos the other day and I was laughing with tears in my eyes. And I realized that I don't do what I consider to be like brainy comedy enough. It was very brainy. It was actually a response to somebody saying something on one of my videos. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a video about this. And I made a video and, went about my business. And for some reason I stumbled on this video the other day and I watched the whole video and was like, oh my God, that chick is hilarious. Not only is she funny, she's smart. I was like, it's smart, funny. Like when I allow myself to show the, like, I went to Carnegie Mellon part of what I'm saying. So I thought to myself, you know what, Roshini, I think it's time to let that part of you come out in your laughter and let your jokes have layers where, the people who get the facial expression version of it are going to get their laugh. The people that need their cerebral cortex tickled are going to get the laugh. Because I literally had literal tears coming out of my own eyes on a video that I made. And so I would love to see what that turns into.
Exactly. But that's what we talked about. And that brings us back to the beginning. Okay. Because there is a persona. And now it's very evident, and maybe you're discovering this for yourself, but that Glamazini has now evolved into Roshini Cope for maybe the first time in 20 years, because this is how you're identifying yourself. And when you turn around and you said Carnegie Mellon, I said to myself, this girl graduated Carnegie Mellon. Yeah. Let me see that in her videos.
At almost barely
That's
18.
Something that I can really resonate with, and that expands your audience and your base, because what you were giving us before was absolutely positively wonderful stuff and certainly groundbreaking stuff. But now this is part of your evolving and growing and really, really becoming a role model rather than just a social influencer. So I think it steps it up for sure. And I am just like you. I am taking 2 courses this weekend. I've got a Kindle going with an Audible going because I like to see the words as I'm hearing the words, because I have a teaching background as well. I was an adjunct professor for a while. I was a high school teacher for a long time. So I always have to do a combination of hearing and listening, hearing and seeing and doing. So I've got to do that. I'm always taking courses. I'm looking at every single thing from a behavioral health, mental health point of view, not because I'm going back to school, even though I'm a certified coach and I spent thousands being a certified coach, but because I have an obligation to know myself better. And I have an obligation to know all of my clients better. And I'm really interested in every single one of them and being the best I can be. And also having the latest information. We have so much new stuff happening and so many new techniques and so many things that we need to be aware of. And that's part of being, more evolved and more developed. So I can't wait to see you evolve, because I know you're on Facebook and you're on Twitter and you're on Instagram. And now I am one of those 35,000 fans for sure.
Well, that's wonderful, Ellen. Thank you so much for this. This has been incredible.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really thrilled that you say that. I'd like you to leave us with some parting words. I mean, create your own day is a wonderful way to leave us. But give us some words of wisdom and what you want to leave us with as a woman who pushes for more.
Let me think. This year, 2020, has been so unique. That's the word I'm going to say. And I've noticed that when I do my inspirational videos, I moved from a place of basically trying to survive, because early in the pandemic, I lost my dad at the beginning of the pandemic, not from COVID, but just he passed away. And I was unable to go to his funeral because of the border closing. And I realized that as the year went on, and I was coaching other people as well as just trying to grow myself, the biggest thing that I have taken from 2020 this year, two big things. One, immense amounts of grace for myself and for others, because I believe that everyone is in a unique, heightened, and new space that we've never been in. And so assuming that somebody will behave a certain way, it's not always, you get different outcomes sometimes from yourself. Even you get different outcomes. You're like, who did that? Who said that? Did I just burst out crying? And so immense amounts of grace, not just for the pandemic, but I would encourage everyone to practice just flooding yourself with grace, allowing yourself to sit in your humanness, I guess is possible, your humanity, to inspect your shame, which is something I've been doing a lot of lately, to be intentional with yourself and to speak kindly to yourself. And I say that because this is all something that I've been doing this year, especially, and that I am intentionally going to be doing moving forward. The other thing too is the expression thing I said to you. I don't know if I've heard anybody say that before. Maybe it's a thing. Oftentimes I come up with concepts and then later on, years later, I hear somebody quantify the concept in a video somewhere. And I'm like, oh, that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. I didn't know that had a name. But in my mind, depression is the opposite of expression. And so if you are a person that has a diagnosis or you don't even have it, you are just experiencing depression. The actual word depression, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's to shove something down, and express is the opposite. It's to let it out. And so I would suggest that you consider that you may be dimming your light. You may not be using your voice. You may not be expressing your real you. And so the movement I would encourage you to have is to move incrementally and intentionally, like I said, towards showing up as you, an honest, authentic, and like Ellen says, pushy you. I let the pineapples fly freely. I just do. Yes, I am a 45-year-old woman with a Care Bear behind me, and that's just me. And let me tell you something. I'm creating a pretty awesome day. So that's what I would tell people. Intention, grace, expression.
Roshini, it's been a pleasure to have you on Women Who Push for More.
Thank you, Ellen.
This is Ellen Stewart, the pushy broad from the Bronx, saying thanks for listening. And remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New